you've got an awesome job. You can just walk off and do your job and be happy. And while life fight all these battles and fight, and it lasted for a couple of days. And then Wednesday morning, I get up and I went for my run about 4:30 in the morning, and it was dark, and I went for my run, and the spirit, it was just, this spirit of just heaviness was on me. And so I said, you know what? I just decided to walk down our street, and I turned my headlamp off and everything, and I'm too stubborn to quit. I don't know. I just raised in sports, and when a fight comes on, I like to fight. And I walked down the street, and I said, God, you know what? You know I'm not going to give up. And so I started coming against that feeling, that spirit, whatever it was, going down the street and said, you know what? And I just called out to hell. I said, hell, you know what? You picked the wrong guy. I refuse to quit. I refuse to give up. And whatever spirit this is, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And I just walked up and down my street. It was quiet, nobody out except for deer. I saw a few deer, but we were out, and then I just had a talk with God. And sometimes you just got to fight some things. And this lesson came to my mind. I'm going to talk about the power of nevertheless. The power of nevertheless. And it just something that just reared up within me, and that feeling left. It was amazing. It left. It just went. And something was trying to come upon me. And I believe something was trying to come upon the church. It was just trying to press us. And there was a spirit, and I'll just be honest, there was a spirit of disunity trying to get in the church. And I called against it. I went against it. And I refused for it to come against us. You know, we're family of God. We don't always agree. The family doesn't always. But hell is going to have to run through me, and it's going to defeat us. Because it's not. And this word came upon me, and I think I just got kind of, it was weird. I had it 3 days. I've never felt like that, Rick. Ever in my life have I felt like that. I didn't want to do anything. I love my job. And I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to do anything. I've never had that before, but through the power of prayer and just talk, I just walked up and down the street for a good hour and just had a prayer meeting and then departed. And I thought about this lesson, and so we're going to talk about the power of nevertheless. And Numbers 13, verse 23 through 33, then they came to the valley of Eshcol, and they cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes. They carried it between two of them on a pole. They also brought some of the pomegranates and figs, and the place was called the valley of Eshcol. And because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down there, they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh. And they brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. They told them, we went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, everybody say nevertheless. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites dwell in the mountains. The Canaanites dwell by the sea along the banks of the Jordan. And Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let's go up at once and take possession, for we're well able to overcome. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. They gave the children of Israel bad report of the land which they had spied, saying, the land through which we had gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people who saw this man's great stature, and there we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak had come from the giants, and were like grasshoppers in their sight. Now go to Luke 5, verse 4 through 6. Another familiar story. Now when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, launch us into the deep, or launch out into the deep, and let down your nets for a draught. Simon answered him, Master, we have toiled all night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, At thy word I will let down the net. They had done this, they enclosed a great multitude of fish. The net brake. In the English vocabulary, there are a handful of words that can change the entire context of a sentence, a conversation, or even the outcome of a situation, just by a simple word, an adjective. And in our text today, a single word has changed in a multitude of ways entire dialogues, entire situations. The one word even changed an entire world simply by mentioning one word. Nevertheless. Nevertheless. In the Old Testament, the original Hebrew means, strangely enough, it means a ceasing, an end, a finality. In the New Testament, in Luke's writing, the word nevertheless is used after negative sentences and serves to mark a transition to something new. In Mark's writing, nevertheless is used as an opposition to concession. This simply means that although the speaker does not want to yield or concede to circumstances, they have submitted their own will through the power of nevertheless. Finally, from the American Heritage Dictionary, the word simply means, in spite of everything else, in spite of all, nevertheless. In spite of all, nevertheless. In our story in Numbers 13, nevertheless changes a positive to a negative. I believe that your action or words can change a blessing into a curse. Your words or your action, following the story of the 12 spies, you'll discover that till man, every one of them experienced the wonders of Canaan. It wasn't just Joshua and Caleb that pulled down a bunch of grapes. It wasn't just Joshua and Caleb that ate the fruit of the land till Jews came dripping down their chins. And man, they really enjoyed it. The Bible tells us the grapes were so large that they had to carry them on sticks between two guys. They were huge. However, in 10 of the spies, there was a nevertheless that changed the entire picture. They witnessed as God promises, but couldn't trust His protection. God did not lead them to this point just to leave them wishing, if only. But 85% of the spies used the power of nevertheless to change a positive we saw into a negative we can't. We saw the promises. We saw the blessings. But we can't. Their attitude was, yes, there's plenty of promise in the land that we spied out, but in spite of all of that, it was a nevertheless that became an end, a ceasing, a finality, because it stopped what God wanted to do for Israel. One word. God wanted to give them a miracle, but because of nevertheless. I wonder how many times we stop the blessings of God because of the lack of faith. God can put us right in the middle of our blessing. He put them right in the middle of their miracle and showed them all the wonders of the land. But they spoke one word, nevertheless. They were on the brink of their miracle and decided they were not able to do it within themselves. They forgot about the power of God. God said, I'm going to give you all of this land. And they saw it. But nevertheless. And look at the words. He said, we were grasshoppers in their sight. How do you know that? They tell you. That's how they perceive themselves. You know what? That's the way Satan wants you to perceive yourself. That's the way he wants this church to perceive you. We're just grasshoppers. We're nobody. we're nothing important. The enemy is too great. The enemy is too mighty. The enemy is too powerful. And God said, I'm going to give you a blessing. I'm going to give you a miracle. But Satan wants to bring you that point and you say, nevertheless, we can't do it. Nevertheless, we might as well just quit. Nevertheless, we might as well just go home. Nevertheless, and it turned a positive into a negative. But now we see in Luke's message, Luke's recording of a miracle of the fishes, we experience the power of nevertheless changing a negative to a positive. Here's Peter. He's been out fishing all night and caught nothing. You might even go fishing and didn't catch nothing. It happens. But sometimes the joy of fishing is nothing. You just sit there, nothing. Sometimes that's the joy. He was an experienced fisherman. He went to places where he knew there was always fish. Like every fisherman, they have their favorite honey hole. Every true fisherman's got their favorite spot. And don't you dare ask them where it's at. Because they won't tell you. They show you, well, I caught these fish. Where'd you catch that at? That's you don't ask that question. That's their spot. And I'm sure Peter had his favorite spot because he was professional. He knew where to go. He tried again and again, hour after hour, always coming up empty. They were fishing with large nets and not just a few poles. It was nets and it was like, you would have thought they would at least caught something. Even a little panfish or something, a little guppy, something. But nothing. But Peter said, we've caught nothing. In other words, it couldn't get any worse. They came up totally empty, but early the next morning, after a long night of being in the boat and frustration and nothing worked out, as they were coming to the shore, they saw Jesus, and Jesus asked Peter if he could borrow his boat to teach people from the beach. In a few hours, when he was done, Jesus told Peter to do something that seemed illogical. It didn't make sense to Peter's natural reasoning. Jesus said, Peter, go back out in the waters, throw your nets, and you're going to catch a handful of fish. Not a handful, but a great full of fish. You're going to catch a bunch of fish. And can you imagine how Peter felt? Wait a minute. Sometimes we can get everything with God. I don't know how Peter felt. I wonder how he felt. Look, I'm a professional. I'm a professional, God. This is what I do. I went on, hit all the popular holes. I went at the right time of the day, because the time of the day makes a difference when you fish. I went it was like 4 of the night when the fish come up closer. I did all the stuff right, the right bait. And here you are telling me to go try again. Jesus, you weren't even a fisherman, you were a carpenter. You don't tell me. I don't know, it's just me envisioning the story. But I'm sure Peter felt some kind of way when Jesus said, go back out and do it again. Been out all night, we're not biting. We know what we're doing. You ever tell God, I know what I'm doing. You ever felt that way, God? I know what I'm doing. And God says, you know what, I got something different for you. I want you to do it different. But God, that doesn't make sense. I'm an expert in this. Every circumstance told Peter, don't do it. It's going to be a waste of your time. Peter wouldn't have reasoned it out when he looked at the logical. He would have talked himself out of it. He could have told Jesus, I appreciate your suggestions, Jesus. Thank you for your advice, but we're not going to do it. It's not going to do any good. Instead, Peter did something that we all must do if we're going to see promises come to pass. He said, Jesus, we fished all night. We caught nothing. what did he say? Nevertheless. Nevertheless, that's your word. We're going to go back and try it again. I feel in my spirit today that somebody's been attacked and Satan's been attacking people, and you've been trying, you've been praying, you've been working, you've been trying with certain people, and it seems like you're like Peter, and you come back and you got nothing. Put in all the work, all the time, nothing. Just sell the boat, sell the rod, and I'll go try something else. If you ever felt like that, you work with people, and then nothing. Matter of fact, it seems they just go further away. But I think God is looking for some people today that says, nevertheless. I know what the past results have been, but nevertheless, I ain't quitting. God, if you tell me to go out in the water one more time, I'm going out in the water one more time. If you tell me to throw my nets again, I'm going to throw my nets again. If you tell me to pray another prayer, I'm going to pray another prayer. If you tell me to walk another mile, I'm going to walk another mile. Nevertheless, God is looking for people that say nevertheless. He didn't deny the facts. In fact, he was saying the odds are against us. It looks impossible. Nevertheless, because of what you say, I'm going to do it. You know the story. He went back in the water, threw out the nets, and caught so many fish that it began to break. And practical people would have missed their miracle. People that only look at things logically, realistically, statistically, would have talked themselves out of it. It didn't line up on your spreadsheets. It didn't line up through logic. It didn't make any sense. We talked in our Bible study today about the gifts of the Spirit. Listen, when you begin to operate in the gifts of the Spirit, it's going to go against what's logical. It's going to go against what makes sense. When God begins to work, and God begins to move, it's going to work in a way that only God can take credit. And we don't do it through human resources and effort, but we're just a conduit for the Spirit of God, and He begins to work. And God is looking for nevertheless people, for people who say that every medical report doesn't look good. Nevertheless, God is restoring health back to me now. My child is still off course, but nevertheless, as for me and my house, we're going to serve God. Business is slow. There's no fish or biting. It doesn't look like I could ever get out of debt. But nevertheless, blessings are chasing me down. I will live. And it says maybe I've had this addiction for years and gone through treatment and rehab. Nothing has worked. I should be discouraged, but I am a nevertheless person. There's people that we're working with that we stress over, that keeps us awake at night, and it seems like it's getting worse. But you know, I think what God is looking for is some nevertheless people. I know what the circumstances say. I know what nature says. I know what it looks like in the flesh, but I'm here to tell you, nevertheless, I still know a God, and I serve a God that's big enough. He's done it before. He can do it again. He's delivered this person. He can do it. He is no respecter of person. I think He's just looking for nevertheless people.
Thank you, Jesus.
I should be discouraged, but I'm a nevertheless person. I know freedom is in my future. I know one touch of God's favor can turn it around. And I'm here to tell you, whatever you're going through, the burden, whatever you carry, and some of you are carrying heavy burdens for people. I'm here to tell you, my God is still in the God and the business of turning and turning around and having favor upon people. It was this nevertheless that in the Greek form served to mark a transition to something new. It was here that Jesus called His disciples to become fishers of men. What's interesting is Peter went back to the same place where he had not caught any fish the night before. Suddenly he was filled with fish. Sometimes we think, well, I've tried it once, it didn't work out, it's never going to happen. Meanwhile, how do you know God hasn't put the fish there to test your faith for you to go back again. How many times have we stopped one prayer too short? Listen, don't give up and quit believing. Go back and try it again. Don't base it off of how you feel. I'm here to tell you, if I were to base it off how I felt earlier this week, I wouldn't be here. But nevertheless, because I know that when the enemy starts fighting, God's up to something. I know the more that the enemy fights, the closer he knows he's to his damnation. And that gets my spirit going. That, hey, when the devil is up to something, so is God. And I can't go based on how I feel or what the circumstances. But I got to have a nevertheless attitude that, hey, the devil is up to something, but nevertheless, so is my God. And greater that is in me than he that is in the world. And I know that the gates of hell shall not prevail against a living church. Satan, you're up to something, you're messing around, you're messing with people, but nevertheless, I serve a God that's greater than you. Nevertheless, I know your future. I know your end. I know you're fighting because you know your end as well. Nevertheless, there's a church of people that will not stop worshiping. There's a church of people that will not stop praying and fighting because we know the end. Just like Peter, God has an abundance of what you need waiting for you. Well, I've been fishing all this time. I've been striving. You haven't missed it. It's not too late. Just because your timetable and God's timetable does not line up doesn't mean God has stopped working.
All right.
If you'll have this nevertheless mentality, God will lead you into favor, into healing, into abundance, into the fullness of your destiny. You've got to have an attitude. I ain't quitting. I've told you before, hell doesn't know what to do with the person that has an attitude, I ain't going to quit. I remember reading a story. I had to look it up again, but a young lady named Elizabeth Blackwell. She lived in the 1800s. She had a dream to become a medical doctor. Of course, back then that was unheard of for a female because there was no female physician. She applied at medical schools and turned down 29 times. Most people would have quit and thought, you know what, it's not for me. I got the message. But not Elizabeth Blackwell. She was a nevertheless person. She knew God put the dream in her heart, and he had the final say. And every circumstance said it wasn't going to happen. Her attitude was, nevertheless, I'm going to keep going and I'll apply to the next one. She applied to medical school number 30. This time the administration was faintly open to it, but they wanted to get approval from the students who were all men. When they told all the young men that a female would attend, they unanimously voted yes. They're probably tired of looking at other dudes. But they said yes, they were thrilled. She graduated from medical school and became the first female physician in America. She went on to start the New York Infirmary and later founded Women's Medical College. What's the goal of the story? What I'm saying is, just because your fish went there the last time doesn't mean they're not going to be there the next time. You've got to do what Elizabeth did and say, God, the odds are against me. Everything says I'm done. I tried and got turned down. Nevertheless, at your word, I'm going to keep believing. I'm going to keep trying. When you're a nevertheless person, God will get you to where you're supposed to be. He'll bring the fish to you. David said in Psalm 3, he said, Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many that are bewitched. Say of my soul, there is no help from him, God. But thou, O Lord, art the shield for me, and my glory, and the lifter up of my head. I cried unto the Lord, my voice heard me out of his holy hill. I laid me down and slept. I awake, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people, that they have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, save me of my soul, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone, that hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. Thy blessing is upon thy people. Lord, how they have increased that trouble me. You ever feel like that? The trouble just increased. It just gets worse. You try to do right and it gets worse. Try to serve God and it gets worse. He was saying, God, it looks like my enemies are multiplying. David not only had other armies coming against him, but he had his own son Absalom coming against him, trying to take his throne. He could have gotten discouraged and thought, that's it, I can handle other people trying to hurt me, but my own family, I'm done. This could have been the point where David faded off into the sunset and we don't read about him anymore, but David didn't just talk about the problem. He stated the facts. Then he took one step further and said, Lord, how they had increased that trouble me, but you, O Lord, are a shield. He acknowledged the fact that trouble was around him. He acknowledged the fact that he was in trouble. He had problems, and he admitted, said, hey, there's something on me. There's something happening. I realize that, but I know who my God is. I know who my God is. I walked in the street Wednesday morning and I said, God, I still know who you are. I still know your power. You're the God that created the heavens and the earth. You have not changed. You're the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And therefore, nevertheless, whatever's going on, I know you're still the God of power. Listen, what's the message? Don't let the devil have the last word. Don't let the devil have the last word. When he begins to attack you, when he begins to attack the church, he attacks your family. Don't let him have the last word. Always add the nevertheless. Doesn't look good. Nevertheless, the Lord. My co-workers did me wrong. Nevertheless, God is fighting my battles. He's my vindicator. Listen to me this morning. Some of the things that have you worried about right now, upset, discouraged, it would all change if you would start adding the nevertheless. If you just stop with the facts and just concentrate on how impossible it is. It may seem impossible. It is tough. I'm not trying to downplay that. It's going to cause you to get discouraged every time something negative happens, every bad break, every disappointment, delay. Answer back with nevertheless. Nevertheless, get in the habit. Nevertheless, guess what? I'm stuck in traffic. Instead of getting mad, I'm preaching to myself right now. I should be upset. Nevertheless, I know God is directing my steps. Take a different look at it. Traffic is backed up. Maybe he's saving me for something down the road. Instead of getting angry and getting impatient, I do it all the time. Because when I want to get somewhere, I want to get somewhere. I get impatient, even in Meadville traffic. I couldn't live in a city. City ain't for me. But you say, nevertheless, when you face situations that look impossible, and we all do, don't talk yourself out of it. Get rid of a no-way mentality. Have this nevertheless mentality. If you'll do this, I believe and declare that God is able and about to turn some things around for you. He's about to open new doors. There are explosive blessings coming your way. Because you're a nevertheless person like Abraham, you're going to see the promises come to pass. Like David, you're going to overcome obstacles that were bigger, and like Peter, God's going to bring the fish to you and abundance of what you need in Jesus. If you receive it and say, hey, nevertheless. Let's go ahead and stand. The power of nevertheless has the ability to change everything.